do you refer to someone by a quality that they dislike? Unless it is ضرورة للتعريف. It is absolutely necessary. It's the only way to actually identify that person. دون استهزاء. There's no intention of mocking that person, but it is a last resort. You've tried every way to refer to that person, and in order to make that person known, you have to mention a certain quality of them that they might not like. Similar to backbiting, ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. To backbite means to refer to someone in a way that they don't like. So someone backbites and says, but it's true. It doesn't matter if it's true. That person doesn't like that thing being mentioned about them. It's haram. It falls under the category of ghiba. Similar to a nickname or to a reference that you make to a person. If you say, the person who's, or you do this or this, right? And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to Aisha radiallahu anha when she did this referring to Safiya radiallahu anha. She didn't have to do this to refer to her height. But she did that. And Aisha radiallahu anha narrates it, our mother, as a lesson for us. Said that the Prophet ﷺ said that you have said a word that if you were to spit it into an ocean, it would pollute it. It would corrupt it. Even though, ma qalat kalima. She actually didn't say anything, but the Prophet ﷺ said that's like a kalima. That's a word that if you spit it into an ocean, it would corrupt or pollute the entirety of that body of water, contaminate that entire body of water. So, we should be careful when you're talking about someone or referring to someone and you mention a physical quality or mention something that's disliked to that person, a personal quality. All of that is included in وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. The second one that the ulama mentioned is mocking someone for a sin that they've committed by attributing them to that sin. This is really interesting because the Prophet ﷺ warned, and even if there's a da'af, a weakness in the sanad, it's accepted by all of the scholars, not to mock someone by a sin that they've committed, and that if a person does that they would not die until they commit that same sin. That the effects of that sin would come into their own selves or into their own families. فَلَا تُعَايِرْ أَخَاكَ. Don't belittle, don't attribute the sin to your brother or your sister and put them down with that sin until it becomes a part of them. You identify them with that sin or make them identifiable with that sin. They might make tawbah from that sin and then you might commit it. Right? So don't call them by their sins. And then the ulama mentioned, like al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, he said as-sukhriya, to mock with the good quality, subhanAllah, which we see today. So he said, so for example, when you say al-Kareem, the generous person, but you don't mean it in a good way. You mean the person who shows off, or you're implying, shows off with their sadaqah. So you say, oh, there goes the Kareem one again. There goes the generous guy again. Right? So you're not actually talking about their generosity or praising it, but you're mocking them to suggest that their good quality is insincere. That's also under وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. And sometimes when people cannot realize a good quality themselves, they make themselves feel better by saying that those who exhibit those good qualities are not sincere in those good qualities. So when they saw the Abu Bakrs of the world and the Abdurrahman ibn Awfs of the world, they said, yeah, we know what they're really up to. Because they're people of moral bankruptcy, and so they assume that everybody else is morally bankrupt too. So mock them for their good quality. That way, you make the good quality a bad quality, and you take away any responsibility for doing it yourself. And that's actually something very prevalent in our political discourse, right? That people will be mocked for doing good things as if it's a bad thing, to suggest that they're extreme in that good quality or insincere in that good quality.